A weekend string of vandalism in our area and a nationwide debate on license plate reading cameras.
Yeah, but it's not just the cameras that are a focus of support and criticism. It's the nationwide network that they're all a part of. The fight for and against Flock is today's big story.
We've now learned nearly half a dozen Flock cameras across Northwest Ohio have been damaged or destroyed, and police are trying to determine if it's all connected. Those acts of vandalism included chopping down the cameras, cutting the wires, and oftentimes spraying the lens. All 5 of those Flock cameras were in a close proximity to one another, including 2 in Oregon. Oregon police telling 13 Action News today, with those cameras being so close, the acts could have been done by the same person or a group. Just a reminder, if you're caught vandalizing these cameras, you can be charged with a 5th-degree misdemeanor for damaging government property.
Police will argue that the cameras help solve crimes, but privacy advocates warn of unwanted surveillance and potential misuse. Now, as Michael Yoshida explains, the company behind the camera is rolling out those new safety controls amid that growing scrutiny.
There are reportedly more than 120,000 license plate reading Flock safety cameras deployed across 49 states, used by more than 5,000 law enforcement agencies. They scan passing vehicles, capturing license plates and other details that are stored in a searchable database. If a plate is connected to a wanted vehicle, stolen car, or investigation, police get an alert. The technology notably helped track down last year's Brown University shooting suspect. Flock says it supported about 1 million law enforcement investigations last year and helped locate more than 10,000 missing people. But critics warn of a growing surveillance network, one they say invades privacy, triggers false alerts, and operates without enough oversight.
Where is the line where it stops being for solving crime and starts violating individual privacy?
The nonprofit Institute for Justice says dozens of officers in recent years have resigned or been arrested after allegedly abusing license plate reader systems, including accusations of stalking.
By using a private company, it allows a lot of the police departments to circumvent the normal red tape, like getting a warrant.
Flock has rolled out new safety controls, including tools for flagging unusual searches.
We have an obligation to make everyone feel safe. We've built a tool that demands accountability and transparency.
Safeguards. Privacy experts say don't go far enough. Some want cameras removed altogether. Others are calling for stronger rules, transparency, and accountability from leaders.
Like any tool in a police department's arsenal, we need guardrails.
And Flock Safety isn't the only company in this space. Axon and other companies provide similar technology. So while Flock is getting all the attention right now, the bigger question, it's much broader than just focused on that one company. How do communities balance public safety, privacy, and surveillance? And who gets to decide what level of monitoring people are comfortable with? Sean?
Michael, we talked a little bit about the safeguards here last week, but run people through some of the new safeguards that are in place and how they're supposed to prevent misuse.
Right, you mentioned it. Last week, Flock came out with these new safeguards following all of this mounting criticism and concerns about this technology. The big one here, by the end of the year, the company says they're going to require all of their customers to use this new audit tool, which will flag unusual or suspicious searches and even potentially lock out some of those users until a review is done. Users, they'll also have to enter a case number before searching, unless in certain emergency situations, but still, those searches would then be flagged for review following that investigation. Finally, they're cutting back on how long they're holding on to some of this data, at least standards-wise, going from 30 days to 7 days. However, important to point out, local jurisdictions, they could change those retention policies based on their own policies if they wanted to. Again, this all about trying to address some of these concerns that different privacy advocates have been raising and try and reassure those different members of each community.
Michael Yoshida, thanks for the time from Washington.
Meanwhile, the Michigan Sheriff's Association recently voiced its opposition to those policy changes. Flock says more than 90% of plate searches happen within a week, and it believes the shortened 7-day window works for most investigations. But law enforcement groups say they weren't consulted and they're not on board. The Michigan Sheriff's Association says the data retention changes will hurt investigations.
One, it's going to greatly reduce law enforcement's ability to access information to see if they can verify, confirm, refute investigative leads that come in. Our approach to this is all about public safety. finding people that are wanted, finding cars that are wanted, finding missing children. This has nothing to do with invading the privacy of any member of the public that's out there traveling the motorways.
Those changes are also impacting Monroe County. We have Monroe County Sheriff Troy Goodenough with us. Now, Sheriff, thanks for being with us here. So explain to me what this means for somebody who is living or driving through Monroe County. What do the changes look like from their perspective?
They're not going to see any changes on their end. What we've done is Flock sent us their recommended changes, and we reviewed each suggestion, our team of administrators and command staff, and we looked at the totality of the circumstances. And we always want to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money. We also want to represent the taxpayers and our citizens and those who travel through Monroe County. And we saw the tools in the auditing assistance software as valuable to us to ensure that the information recovered by Flock is being used as it's designed and not abused. With that was a recommendation from Flock to reduce our retention to 7 days from 30. Between now and January 1st, we're going to keep track of all the investigations that we utilize Flock for, and those that we investigated where had we utilized the 30-day retention into each case, and we'll determine whether the 7-day retention is suitable for the Monroe County Sheriff's Office or whether we need to make additional changes.
Okay, so at this point, you can't really say whether or not this is going to hurt or help investigations. That's
correct. And in speaking with our team, they felt that majority of our cases that we utilized it were well within that 7 days.
Okay.
And again, departments may find it different. That's why I'm not saying this is a holistic approach for everybody that utilizes Flock. This is what Monroe County is seeing.
Sure. And of course, you've seen the news, right? Flock has received a lot of flack from people and concerns over data storage specifically. Do you feel like this answers some of those concerns?
I believe it does. I think it puts more guardrails in place to audit and hopefully deter and detect abuse.
Do you anticipate adding additional Flock cameras throughout the county?
We already have a number of cameras that are in the permitting process throughout the county. We're just waiting for those other jurisdictions to approve their placement. In our next phase, and I know this isn't LPRs, but it has a nexuses. You know, everybody is concerned about the drone first responders, DFRs, and we'll be launching a pilot program in September. That's one of the reasons that we wanted to put these guardrails in place to give our citizens, residents, and those who visit and travel through here a sense of security that we are leveraging all available resources to solve and combat crime here in Monroe County.
All right. Well, we appreciate that insight there with those new developments coming in September for Monroe County. Sheriff, we really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And staying in Michigan, recently introduced legislation aims to regulate how long the data captured by the Flock cameras is kept. Now, this bill, which is introduced by a Republican state senator, that would limit the data capture period to 14 days. It would also require law enforcement to have a warrant before being able to get access to the Flock camera databases. The bill's sponsor says the only time that would not apply is during the investigation of a crime or trying to track down a missing child.
There are people who say we shouldn't have them at all. I believe that if the proper constraints are in place, that there is a legitimate use, and I know that's an unpopular thing to say, but I believe if you have the proper constraints in place, that the Clemens system right now is the system that we use here in southeastern Michigan, coordinating all of the police departments, and they share a lot of data. But if you misuse the Clemens system, it's a felony. You get fired and prosecuted. I think we need to have that kind of provision with the Flock camera.
At last check, this bill was referred to the state Senate's Civil Rights, Judiciary, and Public Safety Committee.
And as we've reported, a girl from Southeast Ohio returned home safe late last month, thanks in part to Flock cameras. That's according to the Lucas County Sheriff's Office. The deputy who found the girl told us he searched the suspect's vehicle in the Flock database, and it showed the areas in Toledo where that vehicle had been frequently seen. Well, on his way to one area, a notification for that vehicle that was flagged popped up, which led to a traffic stop and the arrest of an 18-year-old Toledo man. The missing girl was found safe inside of that car. That deputy telling us he's glad the tool was able to bring a child home safe and in a quick time frame.
We utilize Flock for all kinds of other things as far as apprehending suspects and criminals, but this is the very first case that I've actually personally located a missing juvenile rather than just passing the information along to the corresponding agencies.
The technology is helping smaller law enforcement agencies as well. Take, for example, Lorain County in the village of Wellington. They have about 5,000 residents. The village's mayor is calling their Flock camera system a win. He says it helped solve 4 cases and has not negatively impacted a single resident. The one-year trial is paid for by donations through the Police Association, about $12,000. It started back in May. Wellington's mayor says the Flock cameras helped with a hit and run, a theft of services, a warrant-related stop to another community association, and a downtown assault case.
I think when you look at those things, right, they're not high profile. They're not like, oh, it's a murder or it's a missing person or an abduction, anything like that. But they're still crimes, right? They're still a victim. And those people, you know, they have their rights, and what they really deserve is to have their case solved.
Wellington plans to review the data before the one-year mark to decide whether or not to continue the program or to end it. That'd be around May of 2027.
And as you heard earlier, there are allegations of that technology being abused by law enforcement. In Massachusetts, a police officer was served with a 6-month abuse prevention order in court last Thursday. She's accused of using her department's Flock database to track her ex-girlfriend. That woman claims police notified her that her license plate had been searched for, quote, a concerning number of times. But the accused officer alleges her ex-girlfriend was using information and she was tracking that in connection to a drug investigation, leading to a high number of searches.
There is actually a website that allows drivers to see if their license plate has been searched in a Flock database. You can type your license plate into haveibeenflocked.com. The results show the search records for a specific plate performed by agencies that use the Flock cameras. It also tracks the stated reason for the Flock searches. The website says the license plate information that you enter is not saved. We'll have a link to that at 13abc.com.